Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I'm returning to you this afternoon for a Knocked Loose album review. Hopefully, you will enjoy this album review that I'm going to be reviewing for their new record, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to. Their new, I think their third studio album that I'm going to be reviewing because they're fairly new, but like, been around for almost a decade, but still, they haven't put out a lot of music, just a couple albums, but still. We're going to discuss what I listened to for this 27.5 minute record, so it's very short of an album, and let you know my thoughts on You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to, so let's dive into this album review. Now, it starts with the opening track, Thirst, which is only a minute and 46 seconds, I think, of a song, and it starts off as the intro track, pretty strong, with some weird, creepy melody and all that. A creepy melody to start it off, and then it comes in your face with the hardcore beatdown stuff, and the hardcore punk, metalcore stuff that the band does. Also, Brian Garris' screaming vocals are quite outstanding in this track. So this is a 5 out of 5. Piece by Piece is the second song to continue the record. It's the second track, the actual regular song. But pretty much it is really well executed. Sorry, got some congestion in my throat and nose as well, so it's just like, Still battling this thing, but it's getting a little better. Piece by Piece is going to get a 5 out of 5. Another great track. I really enjoyed this song for sure. And I think this is a track I could really jam out to for sure. And Brian Garris' screaming potential is quite outstanding in this too. So, Suffocate was a single that came out a few weeks ago, before this record came out. And I think it's one of their best tracks with Poppy featured in it. And Poppy did sound really good in this track. I was really impressed with this track, with how her screaming was too. And pretty much Brian Garris really delivered a punch with this track. Even the drum work is like going all out in this. Even the guitar work is sounding really good too. So definitely rocks. 5 out of 5. Definitely worth checking out this song. Don't Reach for Me is a great track. I didn't see the music video, but I probably will see the music video in due time. But still, strong track. Definitely worth listening to for Don't Reach for Me. One of the longest songs on the record. Um, Second longest song, actually, to be precise. Because the last song is almost 5 minutes. So it's like almost 4 minutes and 50 seconds. But we'll get into the last song in just a moment. But still, Don't Reach for Me. Great track. Was one of the singles for this album to come out. I think it came out early last month. So 5 out of 5. I did do a track review for it. Definitely go check it out. I think it's a quick track review. And yeah, Moss Covers All is 46 seconds, but it's in your face for sure. And for 46 seconds, a lot of screaming, a lot of growls. Even the backing vocalist, the lead guitarist or whatever, is screaming too in the background, and it sounds really good. So 5 out of 5. Take Me Home. It starts with that ominous melody that sounds really outstanding, and I really dig this track. So this is another 5 out of 5. Great job on this track for Knocked Loose, performing it very well. And Brian Garris' screaming potential for most of the track is quite outstanding. And this song is very fast tempo for time to time. Slaughterhouse 2 featuring Chris Motionless. This is the sequel to the first Slaughterhouse song that came out a couple years ago. I think this was a pretty strong track. Would I say this was one of my favorites? Not necessarily, but it's pretty good in its own way. So I'd give this a 4.75 out of 5. It's pretty good, but I think it kind of drags a bit from time to time with certain execution points. It's still good screaming wise, Don't get me wrong, it's still a strong track, but I had a few critiques with some of this track. Not many, but just the one being that it is taking lyrics from the first Slaughterhouse, but it just doesn't pack as great of a punch as it used to. It does pack a punch a little bit, but it doesn't fully utilize its best potential with Brian Garris and Chris Motionless screaming in it. They just don't really give it their all in this one. I mean, it's a sequel, of course, so you're going to have your hits and misses with some of this song, but it's still a strong track in its own way. 4.75 out of 5. The Calm That Keeps You Awake, strong track. Really enjoyed this one, so this is a 5 out of 5. It's the song before Blinding Faith, which is one of my favorite songs off this record. And yeah, now we talk about Blinding Faith. Great track. Really love this song. I think Brian Garris really gave it his all with his screaming potential. The drum work, the guitar work is really fast paced and it's hardcore beatdown stuff. That sounds quite outstanding. So I love this track. It's one of my favorite songs of the year so far. So 5 out of 5. Sit and Mourn is a quite an outstanding track to close this record. It's the one that's almost 4 minutes and 50 seconds, and it does really well with its execution. So I really dig this track. 5 out of 5. I think Brian Garris delivered with his screaming potential, and just the way his song is fully utilized and executed. It did pretty well for the runtime it was going for. So, great outro track to end this record, and great record so far. So, overall, production, mixing, and execution wise, I found myself really enjoying this Knocked Loose record. You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to is one of my favorite albums of 2024 so far. Would I say it was one of my favorite albums? The only critique I had was Slaughterhouse 2. That one could have done a little better, but I still think it was good for what it was. It still was a strong track, but it's going to deplenish the rating a little bit, under a 10 out of 10, unfortunately. So if I were to give this record an overall score, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Strong record, for sure. Definitely recommend checking out Knocked Loose's newest album, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to. Probably one of the best records so far this Friday. For this upcoming Friday's releases for May 10th, and I recommend checking this album out for sure. Definitely pre-order it too, it's worth it. It's a very short record, and it doesn't have a lot of songs on it, but it definitely delivers with the hardcore punk stuff, the metalcore, the hardcore beatdown genres that they specify in, but it still does very well with what it's going for. So 9.5 out of 10 for Knocked Loose, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to album that I just reviewed. Thank you for watching this album review today.